Hey everybody, it's the usual get in the mood shuffle before a great stream. So fantastic day everybody. Just threw my phone on the floor so it doesn't bug me. All right, so let's as usual jump right in. A lot of stuff to cover. And we're going to talk about the new all-time high in the crypto market, 2.9 trillion, and what caused it. And also a bit of the shuffling in the rankings. But as usual, this is Edutainment and channels about math, money, and freedom. And let's first of all jump into the actual market. Quick market overview. So yesterday, I think Solana was number 7, and it leapfrogged Cardano. Today, it leapfrogged Tether. So now, technically, Solana is number 4. Next in line is Binance. So we'll see when it gets there. But I'll talk more about that afterwards. But the overall market is being driven very heavily by a couple of names. Those are Ethereum, smashing all-time highs almost every day. Solana, again, smashing all-time highs every day. In fact, my cost basis, the amount of move that Solana made today is about 1.2 times my cost basis, which is kind of ridiculous. So you make 120% per day on your initial investment, and this is when things really go crazy. And that's the importance of getting into certain good names early. And then Polkadot, also on fire. So we'll talk more about that. But first, we want to talk about Bitcoin and some of the tons of good news and where we are going with Bitcoin. So first of all, Mike McGlone, you guys know I'm a fan of his. He is a Bloomberg analyst, and he's allowed to say and do whatever he wants. He basically believes Bitcoin will overtake gold, and it could also kick off a Bitcoin supercycle. This is like the Dan Held theory of the Bitcoin supercycle. So hugely bullish, and he is widely respected, and people listen to him. And, Bitcoin overtaking gold means a $10 trillion plus market cap, which means a 10x from here, which means $550,000 Bitcoin. So we'll see when that'll happen. Next one is, let's talk Bitcoin a little bit more. For those who believe we are at or near this year's all-time high bull market run, we are not. This is a key indicator here. This is the MVRV Z Score. Now, I've touched about this many times before. This is the realized value, the sum of the value of when all Bitcoins last moved. And the Z Score shows the market value's relative position to the realized value. And remember, MVRV Z Score going high means Bitcoin is overvalued. Going low, it means it's undervalued. So if you can see on the chart there, that little red strip, that's when we are overheated. And historically, a blow off top is when we go beyond that red strip. But the cool thing about this chart is we are nowhere near that red strip. So what I like about this market, and I've spoken about this before, is I like gradual moves. Give people time to come on board, Don't just blow off quickly and then crash. That's never a good thing. But slow and gradual is good, because the more money that's coming in, the more stable the price will become. So related to that, let's talk about the flash crash today. 3,000 down in minutes. This happens once or twice a week, everybody. Always have your limit orders ready. I've been telling people, don't buy at 65K, but have a low limit order like 61K, 60K. We went down to $60,018 today. When you have your limit orders ready, you get the coin cheap away from the whale manipulators. They do this. They dump a lot of coin to be able to liquidate margin long so they can get the cascading effect. And I've talked about this again many times. And they hurt people and they wreck the margin longs. And this is the time when those who are unmargined have the limit orders ready and get $3,000 off Bitcoin in a minute. And it responds immediately back. The whales dump, they liquidate, and immediately they buy it all back. But if you guys have your limit orders ready on good exchanges, you get to get that Bitcoin cheap. So again, have those ready. And I know thousands of you do, but let's bring more people on board to this methodology and put these whales out of business. These manipulating whales. Nothing wrong with being a whale, but being a manipulating one is not a good thing. The other piece of very good news is this chart is basically from Plan B, and the RSI is nowhere near all-time highs, but we are close to all-time highs. So it's kind of a little bit of an eye chart, but when we go dark red, it means we're at all-time highs, and typically that corresponds to the RSI being close to 85, 19, 95. Now, remember as well, when you look at RSI for Bitcoin, it typically runs a lot hotter than it would for an equity. So an equity to have an RSI of 75 is like Bitcoin having an RSI of 95 as a corresponding measure. But this chart, again, just to show, RSI is actually relatively low considering we are close to an all-time high, which means we're not running hot. We're going to go gradually upwards. So again, per the MVRV score, very, very positive and very, very good. So let's talk about this one. Now, we are calmly rallying to $100,000 per this chart. So this is a little bit more on-chain metrics. And in the past few weeks, the NUPL, the net unrealized profit loss indicator, has been rising very sharply from 0.35 up to 0.63 to 0.65 in July. But this time, it's not rising as sharply, which is great. The price action has breached an all-time high, and the NUPL ratio was not even close to its peak value of 0.745 back in April when we hit 65K. Now, one way this can be interpreted is that Bitcoin at current all-time high levels is nowhere near as exhausted as it was in April, and it shows massive strength on the on-chain side, speaking for Bitcoin's readiness to go upwards in the coming weeks and months gradually towards 100,000. Basically, we need a $50,000, 50% addition to hit that 100K, and it looks very easy to do. And all of these charts give me great comfort that we're getting there gradually. We're not blowing off like we used to in the past, which is a very, very good thing. Now let's switch gears and talk about why the market hit an all-time high. And this is so cool. Here is an article. It's pretty evident as well when you look at what's going on in the market. But Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot set all-time highs as the crypto market tops 2.9 trillion. These chains have exploded in value. Each one keeps setting all new all-time highs every single day. And it's driving a lot of that $2.91 trillion market cap per CoinGecko. Now, as I mentioned, Solana flipped Cardano to take 5th spot on the list yesterday. And today it flipped Tether to take the 4th spot. And it's just shooting up the charts. And currently, I think Solana is about $4 billion ahead of Cardano. So it's quite far enough away for it to be hard for Cardano to reach it again. And it is $1 billion above Tether. Now, there is some Tether news coming up later, which I'll talk about in a minute. But in the meantime, it's coming up right now. Well, I forgot the sequence. So the US regulators, including Cynthia Lummis, they want to regulate the stablecoins quickly. And they're trying to do it before the end of the year. Now, what they want to do, this is the kind of list of the stablecoins we have today. We've got Tether, USDC, Binance, USD, and DAI. You can see the heavyweight gorilla there is Tether, twice the size of USDC. But the regulators did say they want to make sure that these stablecoins are fully backed, which means backed with cash or equivalent assets, not paper. And I think this could bode badly for Tether. USDC has switched to all money backing just recently. So I do expect a big shift of USDT to USDC as we go forward. So watch that space. Try not to hold any USDT if you do have any out there. A little bit of Ethereum news. Ethereum as it rockets to new all-time highs all the time. Ethereum miners are making a mint. They generated $2.95 billion in revenue in October, representing, I think, a 22% increase and a new all-time high of miner revenue. And the Ethereum miner revenues have flipped Bitcoin miner revenues over the past 5 or 6 months. And they are getting about 1.72 times what the Bitcoin miners get. So it's staggering. But this all indicates how much traffic, how many transactions are being processed on the Ethereum network and why it's exploding. And this has a huge knock-on effect for a whole bunch of stuff, including deflation, which I'll touch on in a second. So this is massive. Now, let's talk about the Ethereum burn. The fact that the number of transactions recorded on Ethereum's blockchain has been remarkable over the past couple of weeks. It's peaking, I think it peaked at 1.5 million transactions on the 28th of October, which is stunning. But the problem is, what happens when you see all that activity, the more transactions means the more fees, and the more fees means the more ETH is burned. This is the feature of EIP 1559. So as long as the volume of daily transactions recorded on the Ethereum network continues to increase, so will the burn. and so will the price. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You can't get out of it. So it's just fascinating to see and fascinating to watch. And in other news related to this as well, this happened. Why is the ETH burn accelerating? Obviously, crazy amount of transactions. And also, Ethereum has been drained off the exchanges as well, out of circulation. So again, since the London hard fork, which I think was early August, it makes the fees a little bit more affordable, but not, because you got to pay higher amounts. But at the same time, what's happening is there's so much adoption across so many other chains that run off Ethereum. And that's why people say, well, Ethereum is not good because it has high gas fees. It's like so much of the cryptoverse runs on Ethereum. I'll give you a couple of examples. You have obviously Ethereum and all of its applications that are built. Stuff like meme coins like Shiba Inu built on Ethereum, Uniswap built on Ethereum, Tether built on Ethereum. So as these things surge in price, so does the demand for Ether. And that means more Ether is actually burned. Again, the more adoption, the bigger the space grows, the faster the burn will happen, causing the price of Ethereum to rise. Real simple. And Tether, I think, I can't remember the exact amount, but something like 38 or 35 or 40,000 Ethereum have been burned and just, destroyed since inception, and about over 1,100 in the past 24 hours. So it is just crazy what's happening. So it is really deflationary. And in fact, let's look at the chart real quick. I believe $5,000 is incoming. I kind of predicted 4,500 a few days ago, but I was a little bit early. It took another 2 or 3 days to happen after that. But here you can see 5,000 is on the cards. My little green line, you've got the red line being the 50-day moving average, the blue, etc. We blasted through resistance. Now it's just all price discovery. There's nothing but fresh air above. We don't know how high it'll go, how fast it'll go, but it's going to hit 5,000 soon and then on from there. So speaking of a little bit of other Ethereum news, Ethereum Futures ETF is expected again by Bloomberg in Q1 2022. But the bad news is the spot is not expected until 2023, i.e. the spot ETF for Ethereum will not happen in the year 2022. So if you're holding your breath for that, you got to go to Canada and use one of their 3 that they have up there. So that is the Ethereum news. But there's more. So speaking of Solana, switching gears a little bit, I originally said back in April, May timeframe that Solana was going to flip the Cardano market cap. So we've done that and we got this behind us. Now the next thing that I believe it's going to do, my next big target, which is again back in my thesis, is for Solana to hit 20% of Ethereum's market cap. That's a bigger hill to climb, especially as Ethereum is running so high. But again, I do see Ethereum going to be $1 trillion market cap, which means Solana will be $200 billion market cap. It's about 60 billion today. So again, mathematically, that's a 3x. That's the 750 high end of my targets. Not financial advice, just theoretic possibilities using back of the napkin mathematics. Nothing complex here at all. But it's a big hill to climb, but I think it's doable, especially with the rate at which stuff is happening. So check this out. How I always say, follow the smart money. So Chamath is building Web3 on the Solana ecosystem. Chamath Palihapitiya is a multi-billionaire. In fact, he's said to have maybe $1 billion in Solana himself already. And he is layering in, he's investing in companies that are building the new internet, the new Web3, using the Solana ecosystem. And again, he's not alone. He is alongside many other institutional investors. This is where they are placing their bets. And big institutional investors also listen to Chamath. So if he says, hey, I'm pumping money into this project, others follow too. And that's why we're seeing stuff I covered a few days ago. The amount of institutional money hitting Solana is way more. It's nearly the same amount hitting Ethereum, despite Ethereum being 10 times larger on a market cap basis. So again, follow the money. And what excites Chamath most is the opportunity in the next generation of Web3 developers by creating an experience that makes Web2 developers feel comfortable, feel at home. That's their whole mission. But the power of Web3 is stunning. In fact, if you guys want me to do a little Web3 video that talks about the Solend IDO and how to get access and Phantom Wallet and using Radium and FTX and doing an old complex transaction, let me know in the comment below and I'll talk about Solend as well. That IDO just closed, so it's interesting to participate. And I do these things just sometimes to experiment. As I say, dog food, the whole process. But I'll share with you how it's done if you're interested. But it was super exciting. And the Solend crypto is ranked number 2,700 or something. So I've never gone that far out on the risk curve, but I'm very confident in the platform. I actually tested the platform itself and wanted in on the IDO. So let me know. So this is super interesting. Again, how Chamath is investing in Web3 using Solana. And that'll attract a lot more money too. Speaking of that too, it is said that billions of dollars of NFT trades are predicted to move from the Ethereum network to Solana. And I've even done that myself because the speed, the fees, etc., and the user interface is just so much easier to use. So Solana's massive adoption has been a major driver, obviously, of the price surge of the token, and it's likely to continue. Ethereum will still grow. It'll continue to grow. But these guys are going to take market share, and that's always been my thesis since day one as well. Now, speaking of another one that's coming up the charts real fast, is Polkadot. So last time, if you guys remember the April 17th crash after the April 14th, April 14th was what the top of the Bitcoin market, and April 17th was when things started to really tank hard. But Polkadot fell after it hit a $48 all-time high. And that at the time, it had about $1.2 billion in futures open interest. That's what OI means. And the following week, the Polkadot fell about 50% to about $25, $26. And the number of active contracts tanked as well. So historically, there is this thing called the $1 billion death mark for Polkadot futures. Whenever Polkadot futures hits $1 billion, it's time to sell. But I believe this time it's different, because Polkadot has the parachain auctions coming, and that's going to put huge demand on Polkadot itself. And a lot of smart money are placing those bets on Polkadot for it to go up. That's why the futures open interest is again above that $1 billion death mark. So be watching carefully. I am long Polkadot, very bullish on it. So hang tight, not financial advice, but I believe Polkadot will go bonkers in November and December, up until the end of the year at least. And then we'll see where we go from there. So in other news as well, Michaël van de Poppe, an analyst, believes Polkadot is heading to $75 and then to $115. They're his next target zones based on the previous low as to how he mentioned it. So it's not just me who's bullish on Polkadot, but Michaël van de Poppe is as well. So in other news as well, a little bit of Metaverse news, you can see Metaverse is pumping hard. If you look at all of these Metaverse names, everything is on fire, and I'm kind of slowly ramping up and digging in. I play Metaverse, as I mentioned, with things like Chiliz and Rally and Engine and stuff like that. But Decentraland, Mana is top of the charts. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the space. But number 2 that popped up is a name called Sandbox. And I'm kind of digging into Sandbox. I hope you enjoyed the Phantom Should I Buy yesterday, but I think that's kind of interesting. And number 3 is one I never even heard of. Yield Guild Games. Again, not a gamer, I will admit that, but I am digging into the space. So let me know if you want me to do a further dig into Sand. What's interesting about Sand, though, is when you look here as to how it's popping, this took me aback digging into the numbers, and this was a tweet from Woo Blockchain. But you can see that in the past 24 hours, Sandbox NFT sales exceeded $3.8 million, making it third ranking, surpassing Bored Ape Yacht Club, etc. And the NFT sales increased by more than 600%. But what's interesting is when you dig into those numbers, you will see that the large volume was only driven by 866 transactions, drove nearly $4 million in business. So somehow Sandbox is attracting the big spenders. And that gets me interested as to why. Can you imagine if they turn that 866 into 8,000 spenders? Imagine the volumes then. It could even beat out Decentraland. So we'll watch that carefully. Again, let me know. I work for you guys, so let me know what you want. Now, per Metaverse related news, Microsoft is scrambling to catch up. They are going to be using their AI to listen to a person's voice and use it to animate their avatar. And that's super exciting. Not really. But what's also cool is they hope to have some of this ready sometime early next year or in the first half of 2022. They are running at the speed of legacy. I mean, who knows where the metaverse will be early next year, and Microsoft are just playing catch up. But the really exciting thing for you all is they'll be able to integrate Microsoft's tools into the metaverse as well. So you'll be able to send an email from Outlook. I'm not kidding, but that's part of their plan. Anyway, not banging on Microsoft, but I just thought that's interesting how all the legacy companies are trying to jump in. Now, a little bit of a financial money update. The Fed money printing update, very important for us to know because this does impact Bitcoin and everything else. So the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, and other senior Fed officials believed initially this year, all year they said inflation was transitory. And I was saying, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not. Then they said it would be about 2% or under by the end of this year. Yeah, we're nowhere near that. And then they said, transitory, etc. Then they began to change their tune as we hit a 5.4% inflation CPI number. And now it's eating into workers' wage gains, raising cost of living, supply chains messing things up as well. But it's obviously not transitory. And households are having to pay more for gas, for rent, new cars, etc. than ever before. Now, they did announce they are tapering. They're beginning to taper. But don't let that alarm you. So the money printing, they print about $120 billion a month. To put it in perspective, you can do the math as to how much that is a year. It's a lot. But they've decided they will start tapering to the tune of about 15 billion per month and on from there. Maybe taper all the way back. They're not sure. I personally don't think they can stop spending money. And what they're doing now is kind of a two-step approach. So they are slowing down the spending, but not raising interest rates, which is interesting. The 10-year treasury yield did go up about 4 basis points, not too much. So nothing is too alarming right now, but I do believe we're not out of the woods. Economic growth is slowing down. The risk of stagflation is there, and you need to fight that with money printing. So that's my bet. I've been right so far, so we'll see what happens. And speaking of inflation, this is a cool little graphic. Big thank you to Sanjay for sending it in. This is Hankey's inflation index from Johns Hopkins University, and he tracks the scorecard. You see at the top of the leaderboard is Venezuela, nearly 1,000% inflation. Lebanon, I feel bad for the people who led Lebanon, over 200%. That is absolutely soul-destroying inflation. Then Sudan, Zimbabwe, Syria, Ethiopia, Iraq, Turkey, Laos, Sri Lanka, Algeria, Argentina, Malawi, Thailand, some of the names. So this inflation stuff is a real problem, and it's everywhere in the world. The question is which fiat currencies will fail first. You can see some of the far-flung places that it's hitting, and it's hitting hard, and it's terrible for people. But it's also going to hit a lot of the Western world soon too, I believe. So watch this space. Hope you like the content. I'm going to open this up to some Q&A right now with you all. And make sure everything is good. And before I do, yeah, market is doing well. Again, every time I start, I have a little marker on my trading view of where Bitcoin is. And when I start streaming, it's always higher 95% of the time. So big thank you for all the positive sentiment, everybody, or the good juju that you guys bring. So, and a big thank you to the moderators out there keeping us safe. And a big thank you to K8 for managing all the super chats. So big thank you, Kashans, for your donation. This is great. We can do so much for so many animals and really appreciate giving me the opportunity to do even more than I do as well. So big thank you, everybody. Luke, have you ever had partners on your real estate deals? Why or why not? Looking back, would you change or improve real estate strategy? So first of all, a couple of life lessons. Don't get involved in business with family or friends. Do it yourself. It can always turn out flat. Now, when you have things like real estate, it involves a lot of decisions. Sometimes decisions involve saving money, cutting costs, or investing money. And it's very hard to get other people to agree on doing the right thing. So always went in alone. So that's what I recommend if you can, even if it means buying smaller. But as soon as you start bringing in other parties, it just complicates things. So if I'm right or wrong, that's what I advise. Not financial advice, of course. Short pants romance. Just got 25K and want to go high risk, big reward. Where would you put it? Go after the fastest horse, even though it's gone up $24 today, which is 11%. I just look where Chamath is putting his money. He's putting into the Solana ecosystem. Look where the money is going. FOMO times. It is the fastest horse of this cycle. It is a long way to go. It's going to 2x, maybe 3x from here. I shouldn't say that. That's a very dangerous thing to say, especially after doing about a 13x already. But I just think it's the big black hole that's going to suck everything in. Bitcoin as well will do well. Ethereum will do well. So maybe go half Bitcoin and then 25%, 25%. Or you could go after the safer players like Chainlink and Matic. They are, I believe, undervalued right now too, especially Chainlink. Not financial advice, just what I would do. Jimmy God, if Phantom gets listed in Coinbase, what likely will happen? It'll pump for 20, 12, 48 hours, 7 days. It normally pumps for about 2 days, and that's it. What I've noticed as well is the Coinbase effect gets less and less. But if we do get close to a listing, I might get a little taste of Phantom, especially if it's at that 221, maybe 225 level. But that's it. Otherwise, I'm all in on another play. So, but typically the Coinbase effect is wearing off. And you got to remember as well, Phantom is already widely listed on FTX and Gemini and other places. So most people have multiple accounts these days. Craig M. I think they're on Binance too. Craig M. Where do you currently stand on the traditional thinking that guiding your child to a university post-high school is the best considering cost degrees? I believe in education. I absolutely firmly believe in it. The problem I have is the universities are no longer able to keep their curriculum up to date for this fast-moving world. I think, save the money, but put the kid, depending, there's a couple of different types of people. You got people who are self-driven and motivated and hungry. I would categorize myself as one of those, always intellectually curious, always, when I was a kid, I used to break into university libraries to get access to their books on physics. But that was me. I was a little bit different. Then there are kids that need structure. And then you got everything else in between. If you have a child that needs structure, they need to be in a university. If you have a child that can learn by themselves and they're hungry and they're intellectually curious, don't put them in a university. They can learn much more by themselves. Again, even going to the Sailor Academy for free or taking one of the many courses that are available. I do believe another industry for disruption is the higher degree university level industry. So that might be extremely controversial, might be the most controversial thing I've ever said, but that's what I believe. And you're looking at a product of spending a lot of time at school and spending a lot of money on it too. So Jordan D, any thoughts on Ren? I did analyze Ren. I don't like it. Don't like the tokenomics. And it was a fast pass. So sorry about that. There's way, 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 way better deals. And I believe the smart contract platforms is where the money's going to go. It's where the transformation is. And that's where my play has been from the day one. And it's working out quite well. Hilan Win, would you buy leaps on CleanSpark at this point after 2x? It's more than a 2x. And what deltas like to ladder across the number of strikes? Are there any other miners you would consider leaps on at the moment? The miners have all gone up too high. Like my target was for CleanSpark to go from $10 to $40 in the space of a year. And I think it hit $22 the other day. So it's gone up way faster than I expected. I do believe the miners will continue to go up as Bitcoin goes towards 100K. And we might see a frothy miner blow off top. So there is still that upside, but a lot of it is actually factored in. When you actually break down the miners, calculate their intrinsic value, their Bitcoin holdings, their ability to produce Bitcoin, many of them are still highly valued. So I would rather, I think it's safer for people to invest in something like a MicroStrategy or an option, a call option on Beto, than a miner itself. Unless you find a miner that's beaten down like I did with CleanSpark at $10. Otherwise, I wouldn't chase. I always say, don't chase, replace. Find something else. Mr. Mahesh, good to see you again. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks to you, I caught the Solana IDO. Good job. Yeah, it's doubled already. So in a day, which is kind of funny, it just launched today. Can you share your thoughts on its future? If you guys want, I'm going to do a video on it tomorrow. The process and what I believe was very positive about Solend and IDOs in general. Normally IDOs can sometimes turn out not that well, but this was such a small microcap, so far out in the risk curve. But using the product, I really believe, because I consider it like a hybrid between Uniswap and Aave, and I love both. And having that together just opens up so many options in my mind, and that's why I had to get a piece. So I'll do a video on that tomorrow. Let me know below in the comments if anybody's interested in that. X-Ray Vision. Why is there a big fuss made of getting paid in Bitcoin? What advantage does it have over taking your salary and just buying it yourself? Nothing. It's more of a discipline. What I like to think of, and I think a lot of people do this, if you look at the NFL football players or government officials, people sometimes like to take half of their paycheck, and this forces them to save, because if you give somebody Bitcoin, they're not going to spend it on a car or a fancy dinner or stuff like that. But I think what many people do is, imagine you're a football player, you get 600,000 a year, they want 300,000 in Bitcoin, and that gets locked away, that gets hodled. They get the other half, the other 300,000 is to cover expenses, houses, cars, trips, vacations, fancy shoes, whatever these people buy. I don't know. And I think that's the plan. So it's more about instilling a discipline. X-Ray Vision, that's what I believe the big deal is. It's also, you know, if you look at the people in El Salvador, they got $30 in their wallet. That's more than doubled in 5 or 6 weeks. That's the other advantage. Sometimes if you get cash, and believe me, every day I'm on the receiving end of thousands of people who are frustrated. They're trying to sell stuff from one exchange, convert it, transfer it, and they lose 3 days of buying, and they see Solana go from 182 to 245. It kills them. So sometimes having that delay, transferring, buying yourself can be very, very painful. And that's the other big fuss, I believe, as well. So interesting question. Had to make me think there for a second. OB3 must be a Star Wars person. Are you bullish on Invite? Out of all my stocks, that one hasn't moved. Yeah, same concern with the Trade Desk. Trade Desk has done incredible since the 10-1 split. I'm holding. I believe they're going to have a great 2023. Invite, I believe, is very undervalued. Again, these biotech names, you know, the Teladocs, etc., will all do very well next year. They're primed for that. And that's kind of safety, because the reason I have those plays is because I'm so deep in Bitcoin and Bitcoin proxies. I need to shake it up with something else. So I have a little bit of Nextera and some of these tech names, but they're a very small part of my portfolio. But again, if I see Invite falling down lower, like I think 24 or less, I'll double down, and that's what I sometimes do. And it has bounced. It had I think a move. Refresh my mind on it. It's 27 now. It was 26 a few days ago. But yeah, anything below 25 is when I buy more of that one. And it did do that on the 20th of August. So that's kind of what I call my kill zone, where I go in more and go in harder. Extremely bullish on the platform. Just be patient. It'll be back at 32, 34, 35 in no time. And it's a $40 stock long term. So again, what they're doing is absolutely incredible. And the reason Wall Street isn't rewarding them is because they're reinvesting every penny in development to have that moat, to have that leading edge as they go out there too. Erarogon 25. Can you recommend iTrust or Altora for us who don't have much powder, but more in our 401k? So iTrust, from what I hear, I haven't done an analysis on them. They seem to be the best out there, and they're working on their fees too. So I'd probably go with iTrust. I've never even heard of the other one, Alto IRA. So iTrust it is. IROC 007. Do pensions devalue with inflation? What happens to inflation if the US raises rates? I don't like real estate because it's not portable. Alternative? Well, your alternative to the last question is easy. It's Bitcoin. That's the hardest pristine asset on earth, and it's just so scarce, it's unbelievable. Yeah, what pensions are is typically, it's called a defined benefit, fixed income, fixed amount. And if we have an inflation scenario like now at 15%, and your pension goes up indexed at 3%, 2% per year, you just lose a huge amount of purchasing power, especially over a period of time like 20 or 25 years, which is your average pension duration. And that's the real problem. Real estate is a good hedge, but Bitcoin is a better hedge. Real estate has its benefits that you got to live in a house. You might as well make it your own, especially during these endemic times. And it's a tax write-off. That's the beauty of real estate. It's very safe too. Crypto Creed, please let us know next entry point for Sol, someone who's layering into Sol. Speaking on somebody, Crypto Creed, you should have your bags full by now. I've irritated some people by talking too much about it. Let's see. Yeah, I had a lot of questions about this today. It's like, what are the odds of Sol going down to 200 again? I said less than 5%. And those numbers remain. We have the conference coming up in 4 days. That's going to drop so many great pieces of news. I think it'll be a lot more hyped than the Cardano event, which was a bit of a nothing burger. Haven't used that word in a while. But I think, like within a week or so, we could see a $300 Solana, which would be crazy, but possible. But right now, I'm just looking at the chart, looking at the news, looking at the information, looking at the money flows. And so much is staked, and people who are staking, like I'm staking Solana in 2 different places. I looked at my daily staking rewards. Impressive. So yeah, it's just not a lot out there. And with the growth of NFTs and the amount that's being built, and now Web3 coming with investors like Chamath, I don't know. Hopefully 231, 221, maybe on a dip. Maybe if there's a big Bitcoin dip, it could drag Solana down temporarily. But I've noticed as well, Solana works in its own direction. It doesn't even track to Ethereum anymore to a large extent. So just bite the bullet. We had a bet today on Discord. It's like, we should all buy one Solana because it's an all-time high. So I just grabbed 10 just for giggles. And that was it. So let's see. And MS, you chat to Sailor about Sol? No. Very good question. No, I didn't talk alts or anything except for macro and Bitcoin's future and Bitcoin supply and security and all that stuff. So that was it. No talk of alts. And he's not a Bitcoin max. He's a super smart guy. He knows where the direction is going. But there's no point in talking to him about Solana. So I don't know if that is the end of the questions. Let me see if there's any more. Oh, there they are. Yes, a lot more questions. Sorry, there was a little bit of a delay there. So this is from Ryan Stockson. How much of a cash position should you generally keep? I seem over eager to invest, and I often fail to have cash in hand for dips. So what I do everything in cycles. So right now I'm in the harvesting time. So I was in a big cash position in August to the middle of September, and then I blew it all on MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, and Solana, which is what I do. So I was very, very big cash position and just spent it on dips. Now I'm harvesting again by selling out of the money calls against all my long positions, bringing in cash, and waiting to see what happens. Harvesting that. I'm also staking a lot as well, which I never, if you asked me January this year, would I be staking? I said no. So that's what I'm doing. But typically, I think 5 to 15%, or if we get really, really top heavy, try move to 20% is what I like for comfort in terms of cash position, which might sound substantial, but that's the way I play. Because I like to buy dips. I like to be in a position to have flexibility. I would never be in a position where I have no ability to buy more of anything in case anything came on sale. And again, buying cheap is when you get the exponential returns. Let me see. Crypto Poppe. Is it chasing if you know it's going up? With all institutional interest in Bitcoin, do you think we'll see another winter or wait longer? So again, covered this a few times. This cycle is definitely different. This cycle is institutional. This cycle has sovereigns, pension funds. So look at the news about Australia today, about the biggest bank in Australia onboarding crypto buying and custody. The money is just flowing. and the supply is so scarce. And I go back to the simplest number: 55 million millionaires. There's never going to be more than 14 million Bitcoins, and 85% of them are spoken for. So you got 15% of 14 million that you could possibly buy on the exchanges today. That is, call it, I don't know, 2 million Bitcoin available for 55 million millionaires. And these traditional millionaires don't have Bitcoin. Only a tiny percent of them do, maybe 2%. So maybe 1 million or less out of the 55 million millionaires have it. But they're all beginning to wake up, and they're all beginning to realize they need a hedge. And the family offices and the smart money and the Silicon Valley investors and the smart New York investors and the people in Germany and Austria and Australia and Singapore and Brazil and Argentina, Canada, Germany, they all realize, Scandinavia, they all see what's happening to their buying power, and they're all scrambling for hedges. So I do believe this cycle will be longer, and there will not be the retracement like we had in the past. Now, I always go, if we got that crazy blow off top, the retracement could be higher. But I like the way it's gradual, like I showed in those charts so far, Crypto Poppe. So hope that helps. Japanese vintage cars, Chicago. I am a new homeowner as of 5/20. What are some tax advantages to be looking for in the next tax year? Write-offs. Well, your mortgage interest and your property taxes, you can write off. But apart from that, not much else. But that can be quite substantial. I'm not too sure of Illinois, if they have a state and local tax cap like New York and California that was put in place by the Trump administration, which hurts people like me a lot. But check that out. But even those things can be very substantial. AG, have you looked into these bot platforms which trade crypto on your behalf using bots? Worthwhile or a scam? I've looked at one of them, and I didn't see it doing anything special. Just too much friction, too much trading. The problem with a lot of these trading bots is you can have big tax bills, which I don't like. And I've always been somebody who likes to do my own thing. I like to blaze my own trail and make my own decisions and not listen to anybody else. So that's just me. But there will come a time, though, where bots will have enough AI and intelligence to be able to do things better than your average human, especially in the area of arbitrage. But you'll still need a human to build the rules to tell the machine what to do. The machine can't figure it out like we can. So, but be careful with anything out there. There are good bots and bad bots. Nikki Dat, do you still have Invite? Also, do you plan to get some NVIDIA? I've been waiting for NVIDIA to be very low 200s. I have a limit order ready, and I just haven't gotten a fill yet. I'm waiting for a wick down or crash to get it, and I still have Invite. I still have a synthetic long that I've had for a long time. In fact, I bought more. So every time it goes below 25, I buy more. It seems very stupid cheap to me at that price. NVIDIA, 265. I nearly got some when it went to about 202, 203. But I got busy. I'm probably buying Solana or something else. Or MicroStrategy. And it looked, I think based on the chart, I thought it was going to go down more. So no NVIDIA yet, but everybody needs some. Vicious Lee, what percentage would you recommend for cold storage? Would it be wise to split up staking on alts, pools? Yeah, so for example, with my Solana, I stake on Exodus and on Phantom Wallet on a special exchange that only charges 7%. So that's what I do. I also stake in two other platforms too, for Polkadot, Cardano, Ethereum, Bitcoin. So yeah, mix it up. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And then for your big crown jewels, cold storage. That's the safest bet. Ostrancer, my dogs, thank you. Polygon is going to provide loads of bones. Terra and Aave, should I sell them now? I am back in the black, or wait till the end of the cycle like January? Aave, I think will go to 590, 600. That's where I see the top. Terra Luna, I don't buy. I don't like the stablecoin play. It's not a place I like to play, although it's done incredibly well. It's not a project that I am in. So, and then Polygon, I think, is good. And that's it. That's where I stand. I'm still holding everything right now. But I'll start to shed some of the riskier assets first that I covered, I think, in the Q&A. Prometheus Fire. Besides tokenomics, were there any glaring issues with Cadena? Yeah, the initial allocation I didn't like, and they got a ton that they obviously give as rewards to stakeholders and inflation. So it just gives me a bad feeling. It doesn't look like any other thing that I've seen, and I don't like things like that. I like things to be consistent. And I have enough winners. I know everybody's asking about Cadena. I've been dabbling by digging into it and trying to find a succinct reason. And if you guys want, I can do a should I buy on Cadena. But if 10 people say yes, do it, I'll do it. Let me know in the comments below. And a big thank you for your donation as well. Jeff Hammerberg, congratulations on 300k. I see 5x futures. Thank you for that. I didn't actually realize till somebody mentioned it to me earlier today. I'm too busy looking at other stuff. I don't care about subscriptions on things too much, but if it's to get the word out, that's fine. But we'll see. But thank you for that. Blue Henry 58, thank you. And Tuesday's Dragonfire, Campbell Cross, Pony, J Simmons, Heather, Vanessa, Playing with Pastels, The Bamboo Samurai, Trish Hill, Catherine Polk, Mike, Marcuso, Andy K, Crypto Jippo, GT350, Bad Kitty, Kate Boss. Kate, you're up late. That rhymes, actually. I should become a poet. Thrift Store Theater, Lord Jebel, MT, Joan L, Black Dog, Andrew Dalton, Fantasy Collision and Customs, Nomic, Jabba, Pixel Pusher, Leah Papel, Mike S, QC Coiner, Evan Ahern, PB Horror Gaming, Baba Black Wolf, Bad Kitty, and again, Hien Wen, Staff, Bookie, and Danny K. I really, really appreciate that, everybody. Before we wrap, I just want to have a quick look and see if anything is bouncing, because we are 10 minutes away from becoming a new day. Avalanche is on the rise. Solana is on the rise, and everything is just going crazy. Thank you all. See you tomorrow. Bye.